I'm Spencer Johnson. I'm a product manager with Google AdMob and Ad Manager, and I'm here to talk to you today about maximizing your revenue and retention with ad formats. Let's get started. So one of our main goals here at AdMob and Ad Manager is to help you maximize your revenue from any demand source. And we provide a variety of ad formats to help you do that. You're probably familiar with all of these: interstitials, banners, rewarded, and native. Today, I'd like to talk about the role that the format selection plays in helping you maximize your revenue. So how do formats improve on revenue? I'd like to think of it as helping you provide the right ad experience at the right time. So let's talk about that a bit more, and let's kind of start with a framework for how to think of this. Think of attention, retention, and revenue as a way to qualify for yourself whether an ad experience is the right one. So for each ad experience, ask yourself, how is this user's attention captured? Was this user's attention captured in a way that's likely to have them come back and keep using my app, or might they be driven away? And most importantly, is this sustainable for my business? If I continue capturing users' attention in this way and they are retained or not retained, as the case may be, will I have the revenue I need to grow my business, create new content, and move forward? All of these questions should help you address whether an ad experience is the right one. And the right ad experience is one that complements user journeys. We'll talk about this more in just a second, but as a quick example, let's look at the ad on the right. Here, a user is using a news app, and they're reading through and they've hit a paywall. The publisher can't afford to offer them more content for free, so they'll need to subscribe or do something else. In this case, there's a rewarded ad. The user has the opportunity to engage with a 30-second rewarded ad in exchange for continuing to read the content. This is a great example of complementing a user journey. The user was already here, they were already seeking to read, and this actually allows them to keep reading. So this is great. But how might this work for other formats that aren't so transactional? We'll get into that. First, let's talk a bit more about complementing user journeys and the role that formats play. So format selection determines where an ad can even be placed and when an ad can even be shown and what it looks like. In short, format selection governs how users experience ads in your app. So when a given user journey features things like audio and video, complementing that journey with ads that are interactive or have audio and video can be beneficial. Whereas when a given journey has nothing but silence, maybe that's right, maybe that's not. Something to think about. But in this news article case that we just talked about, the rewarded ad complements the journey really well. So now, as promised, let's talk about how that can be done with other formats. I'd also like to use this opportunity as a sneak preview of some upcoming formats that we're really excited about: app open ads, adaptive banner ads, and rewarded interstitials. Let's talk about each one. App open ads allow you to maximize user value from the moment a user opens your app. So what are these? Many of you have apps with splash screens or time required to load the content. This is very normal, and users are accustomed to it. But this is time where a user isn't able to do anything. There's no content for them to consume, but they also can't switch activities or do something else. In other words, this could be the ideal time to present a user with an ad. So going back to the framework we talked about earlier, how is the user's attention captured? Well, it's captured because they're opening the app, and this is a natural thing that will come up for them as a splash screen. And it's between when they choose to open the app and when the app is finally loaded. So that's attention, but is this going to have good retention? We believe it is, and I'll tell you why. While most of the screen is allocated for a beautiful advertiser creative that's hopefully well targeted to the user and an enjoyable experience for them, we're also always reserving a large portion of the screen for the ability to continue through to the app that the user wanted to launch in the first place. This will always be the same area, and this consistency will help users develop a practiced expectation for how to do what they want. whether that's click on the ad or continue through to the app, there won't be any confusion about how to make that choice and how to act on that choice. So the user will have beautiful targeted ads and the ability to move past them if they want in a way that complements a journey that already existed. So the last piece is revenue. Well, this is, on AdMob and Ad Manager, 100% incremental revenue because there were never ads here before. And ads that are nearly full screen tend to monetize very well. So we're confident that these will be a strong performer in your app. Moving on, let's talk about adaptive banner ads. Adaptive banners aim to take one of the oldest ad formats, banner ads, and make them fit every device and every user journey better with no custom code on part of the developer. So let's back up a bit to understand this really well. Banner ads are traditionally in fixed sizes. You have to know what you want. But as we know, one size usually does not fit all. So what can we do about it? Adaptive banners ask you for a bit more information, not the size you want, but the maximum width that you're comfortable filling on the device. The width is all we need, and with the width, we can determine the ideal size banner ad for the device in question and pick the highest performer, improving revenue and showing ads that look better for your users. So how is the user's attention captured? Well, this is a good point to note that banner ads typically capture attention in two ways. Either they're fixed on the screen, anchored to the top or the bottom, or they're in a scroll view and a user scrolls through them just as they scroll through content. There's an adaptive banner for both use cases. So how is the user retained? How do adaptive banner ads improve on retention? Well, two ways. For one, they have a bigger and better banner ad experience for the user. Let's look at the example on the right to think through this more visually. On the top, you'll see a standard 300 by 250 banner ad, and you can see there's a lot of negative space on all sides. On the bottom, you can see an adaptive inline banner ad meant for use in scroll views. This goes all the way to the edges of the screen, and you'll note that the aspect ratio is actually bigger. This is because we will never stretch or crop advertiser creatives to get the size we want. The size will always be perfectly filled, and the user experience will always be great. One thing I'd like to highlight about adaptive banners, previously, if you wanted to show the right size ad for individual devices, you would have had to write some custom code. Adaptive banners don't require any custom code, and they perform consistently per device. So for a given user, on their device, that user will always see the same slot size chosen by adaptive banners, and their experience will always feel the same. They won't get different sizes every time. But a different user that might have a different device will get different sizes because the sizes that are the best for their device will be different. For every user, it will feel consistent and beautiful, but it has the ability to be individual per user. So let's talk about the revenue piece. In our case studies, we've seen revenue uplift in excess of 20%. We're excited to publish these case studies soon, and we hope you'll give adaptive banners a try. And of course, as one of our goals is to maximize your revenue from any demand source, adaptive banners support mediation and open bidding. Moving on, let's talk about rewarded interstitials. So you might already be thinking, well, that's just two different ad formats, rewarded ads and interstitial ads, right? Well, you're on the right track. Let's recap rewarded ads real quick. Rewarded ads allow you to show contextually relevant rewards to users in exchange for a view of the ad. You can offer incentive at just the right time. And contextually relevant rewards can lead users to prefer rewarded ads. We've seen this in many case studies already. And rewarded ads perform really well. So what have we changed for rewarded interstitials? Rewarded interstitials change the opt-in flow. A normal rewarded ad has a prompt where a user has to select an opting in to watch the rewarded ad experience. An interstitial ad is not requiring an opt-in, and a rewarded interstitial carries forward this philosophy. There's still a chance to opt out, but now it's a timer that counts down, giving the user an opportunity to opt out, but showing the rewarded ad if the user does not choose to opt out. This is the difference between rewarded and rewarded interstitials. Why rewarded interstitials? They're just another tool in your toolkit to help you show contextually relevant rewards at the right time. The news article example we highlighted earlier is a really good way to think about this. The user in that case doesn't have to take any manual action or interact with any prompts. They can just continue waiting, watch the ad, and continue with their news article in a less disruptive experience. And as for the revenue piece, we all know that rewarded ads perform very strongly. Some of the strongest performance of all formats can be found with rewarded. Now, before we wrap up, I'd like to talk about something that's not actually a format, but is what I would like to think of as the evolution of the right ad experience at the right time. Smart segmentation. Smart segmentation is a product that allows you to predict users likely to purchase or not purchase, or subscribe or not subscribe, depending on your app, within the context of your app. So how does it work? Smart segmentation runs a TensorFlow-based machine learning model to classify the users of your app. You can use smart segmentation in your app and then ask for every user, is this user likely to subscribe or purchase in my app? So what does this have to do with the right ad experience at the right time? Well, sometimes the right ad experience is no ad experience at all. For users that are strongly likely to purchase or subscribe, you might not want to show ads. And for other users who are almost never likely to purchase or subscribe, ads might be the most practical monetization solution to sustain your business. So smart segmentation aims to help you make that choice with data. With smart segmentation, for users who can't or won't spend, you can still monetize with ads. Let's talk about an example. This is something we're calling smart segmentation for subscriptions. Here we see a case study of a publisher called GeoZilla, based in Palo Alto. They're a subscription-based app, and they implemented smart segmentation to help classify whether their users were likely to subscribe. They would ask smart segmentation for every user, is this a predicted purchaser or non-purchaser? And based on that decision, they would choose whether to render this rewarded ad prompt. Users who were predicted to subscribe or be likely to subscribe were not shown the ad prompt at all. But users that were predicted not to be likely to subscribe received this rewarded ad dialog. So how did it work for them? Well, our case study showed a 60% increase in day one retention and a 120% increase in new account creation. This is the power of smart segmentation, and I highly recommend you consider giving it a try. That's about all the time we have for today, but as we wrap up, I'd like to switch gears a bit and think of something other than ads. I want to think about museums. You may remember an art museum you've been to where canvases hung well lit on white walls, some in decorative frames, some in darker, shadowy exhibits. There might have even been some that had audio and video and sound and were really immersive. So what does this have to do with what we're talking about? Imagine instead that the canvases themselves are advertiser creatives, but you, the publisher, get to build a museum. You get to choose the frames, you get to pick the lights, configure the sound, make every room what you want it to be, so that you can be sure to compliment users on their journey through your app. So next time you're implementing ad formats, think about museums. Think about all the different possibilities of showing these creatives, and think about how best you can compliment the users who are stepping through your app. I'm confident this will help you maximize your revenue from any demand source. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Si Young, Global Product Lead of AdMob, Google's app ad monetization solution. I would like to share a sneak peek of AdMob's recent development, which will help you maximize your ad revenue. As you know, AdMob has been investing a lot to help you maximize your revenue. And today I'm gonna share you some of the latest development and effort that we have, which are still in beta. Starting with the app Open Bidding, which is Google's in-app bidding solution. And following with AdMob mediation as a whole, which is inclusive of open bidding, but also traditional mediation. We'll talk about how you can use it to maximize your revenue today. And then we're going to cover mediation A/B test. which is a new feature which will allow you to test different setups to find the best setup for your inventory and get the best revenue. With that, let's go to open bidding first. Open bidding is a real-time auction that Google provides. We run a unified auction with participating ad sources and third-party ad sources. We have many of them already. And that will allow them to compete on your single impression and to get the highest CPM for the impression. So it will ensure to maximize your revenue. It will also help you simplify your ad operations. With open bidding, we provide a unified reporting and unified billing, which means that you will be able to see all revenue trajectories across Google and also third-party ad sources participating in open bidding in AdMob's UI. And you will also get paid from Google. So you don't have to worry about whether you can get paid or not for certain ad sources. You don't have to check multiple places to ensure it. Last but not least, you will be able to use fewer SDK because many of the third-party ad sources participating in open bidding relies on Google Mobile Ads SDK to render their ads. That means you don't have to implement their own SDK, but you just need a Google Mobile Ads SDK to receive Google's demand and also that third party's demand. So that's going to make your ad implementation much easier. And we've been running this beta for more than a year, and we've seen a healthy growth, as you can see. We've seen both impression and revenue through a healthy J-curve in 2019, alongside the new participation of new third-party ad sources. So we are really excited to see this growth, and we're looking forward to have a new moment in 2020 where everyone can use open bidding and you can make more money out of it. Well, that's from our side of the story. So let me share what others say about it. Stickhands here, a Korea indie game developer. They were looking for a solution to help them monetize and also simplify their ad operation. Because they are indie game developer, they only have 6 person in their studio and they have many games to develop, as you know. So they were using mediation, but they decided to try open bidding with us. And as a result, they saw 20% uplift in revenue, total revenue. And they also saw ARPDAU to grow 22%. And the most important part for the CEO, the Min Kim, is that the operation cost that they had for ad operations decreased because of the simplicity of the open bidding. And that's a key part for them to use open bidding. Revenue will be maximized with open bidding. But what's also important is to protect your business and to be sustainable. And to do so, we know that user experience is key to that. That's also why we are doing additional effort as a part of open bidding of expanding the ad identification to third-party ad sources. Ad identification is our Google's technology to let you find the ad creative that's served in your ad within the Google's AdMob UI, and then find the advertiser of it and take their respective action as you need to protect your user and protect the experience of your ad. And by expanding this ad identification solution to third-party participating open bidding, we will be able to let you find any ad creatives served through open bidding pipe in AdMob UI and identify which ad source it came from, and then you will be able to take an action respectively. Any participating third-party ad sources in open bidding are eligible to join force with this ad identification. As of now, we are working hard to get more ad sources participating with this. With that, I would like to highlight how many people, how many ad sources are currently working with this. As a Google AdMob mediation, we have this much of the ad sources working directly with us. And out of them, we have about 1/3, if not more, of ad sources working with open bidding. That's the top rectangular over there. And the smaller rectangle over there represents ad sources that participate in open bidding with Google Mobile Ads SDK support, which means that you don't need to implement their SDK, but you will just get it when you check the box and opt in. So as you can see, we have a lot of ad sources participating in open bidding, and we are expecting a lot more to come in this year, and we're excited to see the change. But as you saw it, you might start wondering that my network, my ad source, is not in the open bidding rectangular box. What should I do? And we know that. We acknowledge that the market is still not there where we can only have open bidding. Many of the ad sources may not be ready to move over to real-time mode, or they may have other reasons to still be in waterfall state. And many of them carries a large chunk of your revenue. So we want to support that part as well. We want you to be able to maximize your revenue through the course of change that you will see in the industry. That's why we built open bidding, works seamlessly with a waterfall, a traditional waterfall. And here's how it goes. First, you will send a request to Google AdMob mediation, and then we'll pick up the request. And the moment we pick it up, if you have an open bidding set up, we'll call all the open bidders and get their bids. And we'll pick the highest bidding ad source, and that's a winner. And then instead of just serving the winner, we also acknowledge that there's a waterfall setup if you set it up the waterfall. So we put the winner into the waterfall. Note that the winner's CPM is a real CPM, meaning winners are ready to serve the ads, and that's exact price. Whereas in the waterfall, most likely, it's either predicted CPM or the manual CPM that you input in the waterfall. We still respect that because you'd have a good idea of what the CPM of each ad network or ad source is. So with that, we'll run the traditional waterfall as we used to, with open bidding winning line item in there. And then we find the best eligible ad created, and it will be served to your ad. And that will maximize your revenue. So let's go ahead and see one or two examples to help you understand. The first scenario is that you have 4 ad sources. You have 3 ad networks in waterfall set it up. And what happens is, in this case, out of 4 ad sources, network B won with $7. And then what AdMob does is take that into the waterfall of viewers, which has 3 networks. So now that there will be 4 line items in the waterfall, and it goes from the top, which is highest CPM, in this case, network B. And network B is a open bidding network. So they'll definitely feel it. So they'll serve the ads. In the next scenario where we have 4 ad sources, 3 networks. But in this case, open bidding ad source won with $4. That's exchange B. And again, we bring that over to waterfall setup of viewers. Now you have 4 line items starting with network 1 with $5. So as normal traditional waterfall runs, we're gonna start with network 1 and see if they fill. If they fill, they will fill the ad. They will serve the ads. Note that we don't know whether that's gonna be $4 or $5 or not. So you need to make sure that your CPM, the CPM you set in the waterfall, is accurate. But if they don't fill, that goes to the next line item, which is in this case exchange B and with $4. And in this time, this is the open bidding winner. So it will be $4 and they will fill. So exchange will serve the ads. So that's how open bidding and waterfall works together seamlessly to maximize your revenue and protect you from losing any potential revenue. It may sound complicated, so I'll give you like how to guide, how to optimize your mediation to get the best. Definitely use AdMob mediation for both open bidding and waterfall. And in all open bidding, use as many ad sources that you can handle or you are comfortable with, because it will increase competition and then it will increase CPM. The other part is look out for those who you don't even need SDK, because that means you can just check the box and get the relationship with ad source, and you'll be good to go, and you will have potential higher CPM thanks to the increased competition. That's the open bidding part. And when it comes to waterfall part, we would like you to set up as you were setting up. That means add any ad sources that you want to use in the waterfall. If you are multi-calling third-party ad sources, please do the same in AdMob mediation, as we fully support that use case as well. We recommend you to add any ad source that you're using in open bidding to waterfall as well, to prevent any potential risk of losing revenue. As open bidding is in beta and we have many ad sources in different stage to participate or testing out that beta system. So we'd like to make sure that you do have a backup. So in this case, if you have one ad source across open bidding and waterfall, that doesn't actually mean that you will call them twice. We will ensure, AdMob mediation will ensure that, well, when an ad source is called in open bidding and the ad source bid into the open bidding, that ad source line item in waterfall will not participate in that waterfall for that impression. So in other case where that ad source didn't make a bid into open bidding, that's when we're gonna activate those ad source line item within the waterfall. So either an ad source make a bid into open bidding or not, will ensure that that ad source will get a one chance to participate, not both open bidding and waterfall. So in that way, we'll make sure everything is fair and square and you get the best revenue, and the buyers, the ad source, will get the best access to your inventory. So let's see what actual case looks like. We know that you love to hear from other developers. We now have Playdots here, who is well known for 2 Dots games. They migrated to Google mediation, AdMob mediation last year, and they saw record high revenue. It was 28% uplift in overall ad revenue. And then we do feel even more stronger when it comes to non-US countries, as you can see in the slide. And they are very excited to see more of the revenue uplift or any other benefits from Google mediation, including open bidding and traditional waterfall. So you can take it as a reference as well. Last but not least is the mediation A/B testing. We know that you want to try out different setups, such as new ad sources or new CPM or change CPMs per certain country. And we also know that it takes time and effort for you to judge whether which one is better, because it's so hard and ad performance change every day. So it's really not easy for you to make an objective call on which setup works better or not. Mediation A/B testing will help you set up the A/B testing with your existing app. And we even copy the existing setup to another variant so that you can tune the mediation, and you will see the performance of two variants. And then you will decide which one performs better. And another strength of the mediation A/B testing of ours is that we ensure you see the results that are scientific. We ensure that we'll only show you the statistically significant result based on the clean data. You may be able to choose a different segment like 10 to 90% or 50 to 50% segmentation, but we'll ensure we get the minimum number of impressions before we make a call on which one performs better or not. So you don't make a mistake of making a judgment call too early based on incorrect data. So that's how we want you to optimize your waterfall and maximize your revenue. And of course, we do have an external voice on this one as well. Gamehouse tried out this mediation A/B testing as they were considering using open bidding. They heard about open bidding. They want to see if it performs better, but they also want to test it clearly. So they used a mediation A/B testing. One side, they had the traditional waterfall setup. The other side, they have open bidding on top of the traditional waterfall. It's exactly the same as I suggested in the previous slide. And they saw a 12% uplift in their ad revenue. And they saw the increase in their ARPDAU as well. So that was a result. But the key part here is that they were able to see all these with just a click and in the AdMob UI. And they can run the test again tomorrow just by clicking another experimental button and set up differently. So that will give Gamehouse, this feature will give you the liberty to test multiple scenarios on your own and make a sound decision and maximize your revenue. This is what I will share today. And note that both open bidding and mediation A/B testing is in beta stage. So reach out to your Google representative if you want to participate in that. And we're expecting to make this available to all in this year. So stay tuned. Thank you.